How the hell did the FBI get audio of a Fox News executive talking to George Papadopoulos? There's only two ways to do it. Folks, there was one more really stunning story that came out. I know we've been very Spygate heavy today, but there was a lot of news yesterday. And why it's all coming out at the same time, I'm not sure. I'm not being coy. I'm not hiding the answer. But the story at the Federalist, there's something not right about this. Tristan Justice, who's great, wrote this story at the Federalist. It's in the show notes. And I need you to read it because there's something in there that doesn't, it's not right. Headline, Federalist. FBI spied on Fox News. Recorded phone call between Fox executive and George Papadopoulos, new tech show. Why is this a story yesterday? Because yesterday we got these new texts, including the text where the FBI, they're texting themselves, then they know that the Roz and F. Carter Page story is fake. We just found this out yesterday too. So let me read this from the piece, and I'm going to explain something to you because something is not quite adding up here. From this Federalist piece by Tristan Justice. This is an FBI text from the people involved in the case. Quote, I know you're not point on this anymore, but George Papadopoulos got a call from the VP at Fox News yesterday who advised that the government was conducting checks on him a few months back. An unidentified individual whose name is redacted in the report texted to Peter Strzok on January 12th of 2017. That's a really key date because George Papadopoulos' name wasn't necessarily public yet, folks. That's my addition to that. All right, back to the piece. Quote, this is from the text. I haven't listened to the exact audio. Listened. But I'm guessing that the FARA checks we did with DOJ and our four main guys, especially given the article that you pushed yesterday. Huh? Listen to the recording yet? How did the FBI get a recording of a Fox News executive and George Papadopoulos? There's no known FISA on Papadopoulos that we know about, right? Specifically. How'd they get the recording? Now, in the piece by Tristan Justice, he mentions in there that national security letters were used. Well, national security letters are a tool the federal government, law enforcement specifically, uses to get phone records. But they don't get recordings. National security letters, you can get phone calls, phone numbers dialed, phone numbers incoming. We used to call them in the old days MUDs and LUDs. National security letters aren't going to give you the recording of a phone call. Can you go back to that text a minute, Paula, from the piece? I want you to pay very close attention. It doesn't say I read the text of the call. The FBI agent says, I haven't listened to the exact audio of the call. It's right there. You can see it right in the piece. How the hell did the FBI get audio of a Fox News executive talking to George Papadopoulos? There's only two ways to do it. You had to have some kind of a warrant, whether it was a Title III warrant or a FISA warrant, right? For those of you who have law enforcement experience. For just to simplify it, a wiretap, what we'd call in common everyday movie terms. You know, movies tend to dictate how we talk about crime, sadly, because that's how most people learn about law enforcement. If you're not in it, you see stuff in the movies and on TV. So you'd have a wiretap, right? That'd be one way to have a recording. He says it right there, Joe. I didn't misread that, right? That I haven't listened to the audio yet. He doesn't say read the text. It's not a transcript. There's audio. Someone recorded this call. So one way would be a warrant, but that'd be really weird because we haven't seen that warrant. The FISA warrants we know about in the Spygate case, Joe, were on who? Carter Page. Mm-hmm. Not George Papadopoulos. None that we know about. So if option one, a warrant on George Papadopoulos, wasn't the way they recorded the call, the FBI, and what's the other option? Well, there are waivers to warrants, and one of them's consent. In other words, Washington, D.C. is a one-party consent state. Did someone consent to that recording? I'll just leave that one there. Could be a warrant out there. Could be something we don't know about. It's possible. George should ask someone should ask George that, or others. Because that's the only way that would happen. It wasn't a national security letter. I can sure as hell tell you that.
You just heard Dan Bongino.